Hello, my name is Agnes Koschmider and I am the head of the Process Analytics Group at the Kiel University. In my talk, I would like to share my opinions and my view on the topic of papers in the BPM community. To do so, I would like to discuss with you three pillars. So the first one is quality of publications. The second one is ranking lists, and the third one is the correlation of the quality and quantity of papers and research career. So before sharing my opinion on these three pillars with you, I would like to summarize my vita with you. So I started my scientific career 15 years ago, and my first workshop or conference was a workshop which still exists, but really plays almost no role in the scientific community. It is rather a scientific event coming get together. But 15 years ago, this workshop really inspired me. So I remember we had fruitful and critical discussions, and therefore I decided, okay, I have to submit my paper again next year to this workshop and the following year again. But then the way of how we discussed changed, and also less people attended this workshop. And my observation was that people started preferring conferences and as well journal publications. And then something like a workshop, it gained a less important role compared to the years before. And that was somehow scary because I really enjoyed these events, but since the number of participants decreased and also the discussions were no more such conducted in such a critical way, it was somehow less inspiring for the participants. So that was my first observation. And then I had also publication strategy in my mind. So I considered rather technical papers in the domain of information systems A-ranked. And I continued my publication strategy, but then when starting applications for professors, I realized I have to change my strategy. So my A-ranked publications, or publications which I considered as A-ranked, they were ranked as B or even C, which I really couldn't understood because they also had an acceptance rate of around 15%. And then I realized, okay, so there is a trade-off between what I considered as A-ranked and also loved to publish and to conduct such a technical view approaches on the field of information systems, and rather what I consider more business soft-oriented publications. And then I published in both domains, technical domain and these rather what I consider more a business-oriented view on the information system field. So what does this mean for my opinion? Okay, so the first issue is we have to give workshops a higher value. How can we do this? So what we might consider is to allow somehow of an overlap between workshop and conference paper. So such an overlap exists for journal papers, so it is allowed to submit a paper when overlap to a conference of somehow 60% exists. I haven't observed or seen something similar for workshops and conferences, so we might consider to establish this issue. And the second issue would be maybe we might define our, let's say, requirement scheme for workshops, conferences, and journal publications. So what is expected of a paper to be accepted as at a workshop event or a conference and a journal. And from my, let's say, technical view perspective on information systems, I would have some scheme in mind. Then the second issue is rankings. Yes, rankings, and they are important and they are helpful. If particularly when applying for a professorship, then you can also classify your papers in A, B, C categories. But on the other hand side, what we really need are more balanced rankings. Balance in terms of that we as well address technical papers and as well business-oriented papers. So we need a balanced view of these both technical and business-oriented perspectives domains. Then the third pillar is the correlation between quality and quantity of papers and research career. Yes, so indeed, if you are highly productive and you publish a lot of high quality, highly ranked papers, then you are definitely on the right path to be someday appointed as a professor in Germany. But then there are plenty of people who are handicapped due to childcare. Like for instance, in my case, I have 3 children. So for me, it was much more challenging to follow this path of a professorship. And my recognition was also that it was not recognized my years of childcare. So the committee, they expected for me the same requirements than from somebody who hasn't maybe conducted any maturity leave. So what I really, or what we might consider, is something like a female quota for professors. And why do we need this? So we really somehow need to worthwhile these kind of handicaps like childcare. So now, after sharing my points with you, I'm looking to a fruitful discussion.